Hey guys, this is Viper6. Today we're going to do a bit of a voiceover because my GoPro Hero 7 mic adapter gave up the ghost. It's dead. So here goes. Anyway, so here we are. I'm going for a ride and I was going to take you guys to the new YMCA just to give you a view of it. But I wanted to talk about how I fixed my horn. Well, it turns out that, being a man, I'm going to look for the most complicated way to fix something, right? Because I know in the past the issue was always under the seat on the 30 amp relay that came with the horn. So I checked those connections, and what I did was they were soldered, but I used this new solder that you can get these days that doesn't have any flux in it, and that was a big mistake. I should have known better. So what I did is I rifled through all my toolboxes and found an old roll of 50/50 solder, so that worked out perfectly. I resoldered all of them. I tested the horn, and guess what? There's no horn. That's because it's not the relay, but yet the relay clicks. So now I'm stumped, so I start looking through my toolbox, and I said, okay, I better dig out that multimeter I have, and I started checking every wire for resistance. And then finally, when I got to the ground wire, I saw that I was getting, it wasn't really good. There was a fault in it, but yet the wire looked solid, but there must have been a break inside the casing. So I replaced that wire, and lo and behold, I have lots of horn now, so cagers can hear me. So that was good. I was glad that got resolved, because there's nothing worse than riding around and not having a horn. It's a lifesaver, guys. So anyway, so next thing I wanted to talk about was you guys know that my parents' house sold, but it was conditionally sold. And then we got hit with hail, so now I got to deal with the hail damage through insurance. But it didn't deter the buyers. But then I found that there was a bit of moisture in one corner of the basement. And by moisture, I mean just a corner of the carpet. Like if you just put your hands on it, it just felt moist. But the home inspector caught it with his moisture meter. So now the homeowners were saying, well, we want you to rip down the wall to see if there's a foundation crack. So I said, no, I'm not ripping down any wall unless you're willing to pay for it. And, well, what about mold? Well, there's no mold. This basement has been dry for 22 years that my parents have lived there. So I wasn't going to do that. I said, no, I'll investigate. I bought an inspection camera at Canadian Tire. It's like a $299 camera that was $200 off, so I paid $99 for it, and I used $60 of Canadian Tire money, so it cost me $40. So I go in from the furnace, go drill a hole through the stud, because the furnace doesn't have drywall, but the rest of the basement is developed. So I managed to get in there, look behind, on the floor, this and that. Yeah, there's no mold. Then I look at the wall, and I see there's no cracks, but I see it's moist on top. So I go out and I look at the window wells, because there's two window wells there. And what the previous owners did was they put some decorative rock inside the window well. But by code, the window well has to be 8 inches to 10 inches deep. This one, the rocks were right up to the windowsill. So I started removing the white rock and found that the previous owner lined the entire window well with a huge plastic garbage bag, and this is just 2 inches below the windowsill. So because it normally never rains on that side of the house, these two storms and the hailstorm actually came from that side. So they filled the window well, and it had nowhere to drain because it was plastic bag lined. So after a ton of digging, I went down 12 inches and then put back some of that white rock there. I went and did the other window well, and yeah, it also had the same issue with the plastic garbage bag, just 2 inches under the windowsill. And I took that out, dug it deep, filled it with rock so that it's 12 inches below the window well, and I started waiting for the other storms. There's a bunch of other storms that came. Meanwhile, the basement had time to dry, and lo and behold, it's bone dry. Perfect. So they were satisfied with the pictures I sent of the work I did and what I found that actually caused the problem. So now there's another problem. It says, well, the house was built in 1990. We want you to install a new furnace. I said, dude, the house is going to have new roofing, even though it was only 4 years old. New siding in the front because of the hail damage. The whole inside of the house is completely renovated. It has a new water tank, new flooring, new countertops. The house is turnkey. The only thing that's old is the furnace. But that furnace had a motor replaced about 5 years ago. So that's not an issue. The heat exchanger is good, I told him. So now the realtor calls back and says, okay, you know what? They say they'll settle for $1,500 if you knock the price down by $1,500. That's half the price of a furnace. I said, no. At this point, these guys ticked me off. So you can tell them that if they want a house with a new furnace, go buy a new house. Good luck with that at the price range you're looking at. Meanwhile, you're passing up, a totally renovated house. So he said, you're really going to let them walk? I said, yes. Because at this point, I prefer maybe selling the house to someone else for less if I don't get the same offer, but just not to them because they ticked me off. That's it. I don't want to deal with them anymore. End of story, I said. He says, man, well, we'll see, because, man, you sure drive a hard bargain. I said, hey, I've dealt with people like this at work my whole career. Trust me. They're going to buy it. So he comes back, we waited for the Friday close. The date, the time was, what was it, July or whatever. Can't remember the date, but they had till 5 o'clock on a Friday. So he calls me at 4:30 on the Friday. He says, yeah, they're going to buy the house. So I said, I told you. Okay, so now we're coming up to this fancy schmancy brand new YMCA that I was mentioning. This thing, I don't know how much it cost. It cost like $1 zillion to build. Yeah, it looks funky. There's some weird art in the back over there because our mayor seems hell-bent on buying extremely ugly art for $1 million. And all it looks like is a bunch of sticks. I don't know if I can get a good view of it because it's way in the background. And it's two structures that are I don't know, metal sticks welded together in the form of of bull horns or something, depending from which view you look at them, And this over here is where I was here the other day, and I almost died here because if you look at on the right, there is a ton of sand and gravel there. And the first time I didn't quite see it all that well, and my back end skid out there. But yeah. So if you look way in the background there on the hill, you'll see the weird art. I'll try and zoom in there for you. It won't be too clear because this is still a GoPro Hero 3, not using my Hero 7 Black. So there it is. The fancy schmancy, super expensive YMCA. And then when they first opened it, they didn't have enough staff and the pool was going green and it was like a poop show. A virtual poop show, people. So that's it. That's the new YMCA. It is funky, But yeah, later, guys.